Welcome, dear listeners, to a realm where the veil between the mundane and the magical is thin. A place where ancient wisdom and mystical arts converge. We are your guides on this journey, and together we are about to step inside the sacred circle. We're thrilled to embark on this mystical expedition with you as we delve into the enchanting world of witchcraft and magic. In this podcast, we'll unravel the threads of ancient traditions, explore the depths of spellcraft, and seek the hidden knowledge that has been passed down through the ages. Our sacred circle is a space where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, where the whispers of the mystical become audible, and where the secrets of the craft are revealed. Join us as we navigate the winding paths of spellbinding tales, discover the profound symbolism embedded in age-old rituals, and unlock the mysteries that lie beyond the veil. Each episode is a key to a hidden door, leading us deeper into the heart of magic. So grab your athame, light the candles, and open your heart to the unknown. Inside the sacred circle, the journey begins, where the mystical and the mundane dance in harmony, and the ancient secrets of witchcraft and magic come to life. Welcome to a realm where every episode is a step further into the mysteries that await. Let the magic unfold. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inside the Sacred Circle. This is Jim.
This is Joanne. Welcome, everybody. We have such a fun show tonight. I'm excited to raise everybody's vibration. And I'm just happy to be on.
So I know you have been up to a lot, and I've been up to some things too, but tell me what you've been up to.
Let's see. I started a little show on Witchcraft TV. It was a mutual thing, energy exchange, where I can showcase some of my skill set, because everybody just sees me do interviews, but they really don't know much about me or what I actually do. And it's called Mind, Body, and Spirit Mondays, and it's on Witchcraft TV at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And we pull cards, we talk about different mental health issues, we talk about astrology and how to raise the vibe a little bit higher, because everything right now in the world is a little bit stressful. And my goal is to help people manifest a better perspective in their life, because you know me, what you feel inside is what you're going to see on the outside. So that's what I have been up to. I'm also up to a few other things with Breege Burke. I'm studying in the ISFM with her. I've been her student for a while. So I've been up to some things coming with that I'm going to be doing. And I'm starting my next set of classes in March. And I have also been working with Dr. Jeremy Weiss. As you all know, I'm a member of the Temple of Miriam. And I just got my certificate. I am now a Miriamic Jew.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes, it is. It's a little bit different than traditional Judaism. And if you want information on that, definitely check out templeofmiriam.com. He's doing some phenomenal things there. Since I've been studying Kabbalah, it just helps me a lot to just get a better perspective on things and just be a better human.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations.
And you've been doing some things too.
Yeah, I'm super excited. You know, I am always learning. I had received my third degree in December, and I'm starting classes here at my home as well as online. But I started classes with the Fellowship of Isis, which has always had a place in my heart. And I'm studying with my mentor, Denise Dumar. And, we get together once a week and we just talk about Isis and the goddess of 10,000 names, and it's nice to spend time, and settle into that as well. And I also started another, just a brief live where, just 4 or 5 minutes, positive pagan passageways, which kind of
Love
resonates with what you're doing and resonates with our show Inside the Sacred Circle as well. So just getting out there and doing the work that, we always talk about the importance of.
And I'm excited to study with you when those classes start. I'm looking forward to it. I've never done a path like that before, so I have, but I'm usually I'm the witch in the liminal spaces. You know what I mean? I kind of, but I do like the fellowship, and things like that. And I still work with Mark too, as you know, but I'm excited. I think people need this stuff, and it needs to be out there and it needs to be accessible,
And I always think of, as I got older, that I would slow down, but I just keep speeding up. And so do you.
No,
I just keep speeding up.
You stagnate if you stop. That's what I find. You know what I mean? And we don't want to stagnate, and tonight's show is going to be really good because it's going to be a real energy packer for people. Terry is an amazing woman. She is, and she's just fun. That's why we're late. We were having some fun in our Mercury retrograde circle here.
Before we do our blessing and do our card pull, why don't we bring her on? I know we usually wait. Let's bring her on. So, hi, Terry.
Hello.
Hi, Terry.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I am incredibly grateful to be here. Thank you so much. And what you guys are doing sounds absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Miss Joanne, what you're doing with the Temple of Miriam, I'm going to tell you straight up because your guides turned around and said, tell her this, dates back to your ancestors and the time in which you were there during Alexandria, during Alexander the Great, and doing the work and the Kabbalah as being part of the temple there's a sacred temple that was during that time. It's not a Vestal Virgin, but it is definitely a sacred temple that was there that was done with healing and utilizing the Kabbalah and sacred geometry at that moment in time.
Oh, wow. Because I was wondering where the connection has come from and how I resonated with it. And it's interesting because I'm adopted. And when I was adopted, I came with some things because my mother was originally going to keep it. And I am Italian, but what was interesting, and they said it was from a godparent, was I have a Jewish star, like a gold that had come with me as well. And I was like, why do I have the Star of David, But I don't know, maybe it is an ancestral thing, and it's really, really cool. And I like the Miriaministic tradition because it allows me to still do what I do, and they accept their interdenominational. He's doing a lot of work to unify people, which is what we need to do right now,
Absolutely. And it's also about raising the vibration of the collective, because through raising our own personal vibration, doing our inner work, doing our own shadow work, we turn around and we create this exponential herding effect, like you do with a vaccine, in which you pass the light on to another person, and the next person, and the next person. And pretty soon we've done it with everyone that's around us in our circle. And then it just starts to blossom out like this huge lotus flower. And it goes and it goes and it goes. And that's how we then raise the vibration within the planet as well.
I love that analogy. It's like the snowball that keeps getting larger.
Yes.
And it's funny because look at tonight's card pull for tonight.
What is that?
Call back your power. And it is from the Raise Your Vibration Oracle by Kyle Gray. I love him. And this is by far the favorite deck that I have lately. It's what you can do to raise your vibration. And today it's I call back my power. And I think as a collective, that's an important message.
Well, it's not just as a collective, is that it's an important message, but it's understanding things. It's little things like you're trying to reach somebody for 3 weeks and you keep calling and leaving messages, but they've ghosted you. Stop putting your energy that way. Just let it be. You've sent it out there. If they get back with you, they get back with you. You talked about doing the work. And one of the things that Spirit wanted me to prompt and tell you all, Lori Cabot has a beautiful line that she wrote that says, stars, moon, planets, align yourselves compatibly. Let no reversal trouble me, as is my will, so mote it be. And that condenses all of these timelines into this present moment. So now you don't have to wait because Mercury is in Mars on a Tuesday at 3:00 in the afternoon. Now you can do it all right now.
Yep.
And you can bring all of those planetary alignments, all of those energies into this now to do this work.
Now, was that Power of the Witch? Because I believe that's where I remember that from, because that was one of the first books. That and the Blue Buckland book, which we always bring up, because I think that was everybody's first book, the Blue Buckland, I still have it.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, that's a phrase that everybody should have in their repertoire, and you don't have to wait. You can do whatever you need to do right now.
When in need, do the deep.
Exactly, because part of the issues is that people keep waiting. We keep having this fear that comes up, and the media keeps promoting fear. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's a line in a Robert Redford, Michelle Pfeiffer movie that says, in which he is a newscaster, and it says, "If it bleeds, it leads." And that is so true in today's journalism. If it is sensationalism, it's gonna lead.
And not just that, it's become subjective. When I was in school, way back in the Alexandrian times, we were told that a journal was supposed to be neutral.
I hear they had a great library.
Yes, they did.
They were supposed to be neutral, right?
Exactly.
So they're not anymore. Like, everybody's throwing their own personal opinion into it, and
Exactly. It's no longer a bias. It's no longer an unbiased information.
So that's the word I was looking for. Biased.
So that we can perceive how we want to accept it. It's just like, and you responded to my post that because I do lives about being a messenger, because I was talking about the fires, and I was saying that yes, the fires are horrific. Yes, I understand. Am I going to go, oh, boo-hoo? No. Here's why. These people at this moment in time chose within their path, within their blueprint, to be there, either as a participant or an observer. Those fires are there to release the negativity that's been trapped within those ley lines, so that this way it can be cleansed, because just like fire, it's sacred and it cleanses.
And that's interesting, because I did a post on the fire spirit. I think, is that what you're talking about? The fire spirits from the Native Americans?
Yeah, because as a messenger, I don't get to choose the message. My job is to simply deliver it with the clearest intent. It is your job to interpret what you want from it.
Right. Well, let's take a moment and bless our circle, and then we will dive deeper into this message, because I think it's definitely something that will help with others in their healing. We have disasters on the East Coast, West Coast, and then the White House. So
yeah,
I just got that now. A little late.
They can certainly stand to bless. So as we gather inside the sacred circle, we call upon wisdom, love, and miracle. With open hearts and mind set free, may truth and light flow endlessly. I'm going to light some incense here. By the smoke, we cleanse the air, inviting guidance pure and fair. May our words be clear and true, bringing insights fresh and new. As Imbolc's fire begins to rise, igniting dreams and clearing skies, may inspiration brightly burn, and deeper truths we now discern. With Bridget's flame and voices true, we walk this path with light anew. Inside the sacred circle, strong and bright, we stand in wisdom, love, and light. So mote it be.
So mote it be. And I have a little piece that I got from my friend Joseph White Eagle. He posted it earlier this week, and it really embodies what Jim and I are trying to put out as a message and what we try to do with this podcast. And it says, to sit in the sacred circle is reserved to only a very few. For in this circle, you must have respect and honor for all life that sits with you. You must be humble and know that all your talents and gifts, physical and spiritual, are from the center that lives within you. Sit in the sacred circle, then you must always pray to give honor and deep thanks for this unconditional love that was blessed to us, that you should always be in harmony and live in peace with all life as the center intended us to live. To sit in the sacred circle, then, you must know no one is above, no one is below, but the light shines equally on all who sit in the sacred circle from the divine center. To sit in this sacred circle is to know you are not a separate consciousness, but you are one with the sacred circle and the divine center, that when your heart beats to the rhythm with all life in the circle, then your heart beats as one to the sacred drum of the center. And then it says Ikosi, and I don't know if that's the writer or if that's a word in Native American language, but it is from Joseph White Eagle, and I thought it was beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, he's got some beautiful teachings. Absolutely.
So Terry, you are a medicine woman as well
Yes.
as a catalyst. So I have some ideas of what a catalyst is, but can you define what a catalyst is in your personal path?
So I do a lot of work within, and what Spirit teaches me is about helping people with their shadow work. So I turn around and I cut through the noise. Prime example, I'm working right now and I'm getting ready to work with someone to rewrite my contract involving accepting the collective sphere to transmute it. So I'm going to change that contract and rewrite it. And as a catalyst with others, I can see where your contracts, your blueprints are creating an issue within this life at this moment in time. And therefore, we can go in and rewrite these things. We can go in and change the energies around different traumas. So how do you do that? Think of energy as being, and emotions as being energy in motion. If you go in and you change the energy, because energy is like water, and you change it from whatever you've labeled it to love, that memory is no longer triggering. And you've healed that, and now you're moving forward. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it certainly does. And I think I've come across those who do similar things and maybe use different verbiage, but that certainly makes sense. Mm-hmm. I always say I'm gaslighting myself when I say everything works out for a reason. We may not know the reason at that moment that we're in it. We may not know that reason at all. But as you work your path, as you work within yourself, as you create your boundaries, you can then be able to discern and step back and go, wait a minute, I've seen this before. I didn't like the outcome the last time, so we're going to change this. Definitely.
And it's being able to see those repeating patterns, because Spirit, first of all, is only going to give you as much as you can handle at any particular moment in time. Then they're going to turn around and they're going to reintroduce with different characters and different scenarios so that you can learn the lesson that you agreed to learn in this life. This is school. Earth is school. Earth is dense, and it is part of some of the lowest vibration anywhere in the multiverse. We are one of 5 free will planets anywhere in the multiverse. And Earth is an experiment for intergalactic beings to come together and to experience for the collective as a whole. Spirit talks about how when we come to this plane, they congratulate us for choosing to do this because we forget who we originally are and we have to remember so that then we can move forward.
And that really, it's fascinating. I'm familiar with all of those ideas, and of course, when you look at that, it does explain, a lot of the situations that we are in the now, as well. That choice to experience, we've all come here with a purpose and, maybe to set that next generation on the path where they're really going to make a difference. So it's.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's just like you, Mr. Jim, part of your path is going to be, and I don't know if you've realized it or not, is to teach others. You need to impart your wisdom to others. Because as a way shower, someone who's come here to learn and to cut through the crap, and then to go, all right, so this is the information, and here's the easiest way to present this information to you.
Thank you. And that's always when I'm at my happiest, is when I'm teaching and seeing others, grab a hold of something and run with it and become everything that they can be.
There you go.
I'm so glad that when you said you were going to start doing that class, because I really feel that, that's important right now. And I love when you teach, you know what I mean? And that's what drew me to you, you know what I mean, was the way you were teaching that class when I met you. And I was like, this is, somebody who I can understand and who I can relate with. And it just resonated a lot, because he was the one that taught me a lot about the spirit of place and what's around you. You know what I mean?
And see, this is what's so interesting is, Jim, you and I have never met before. I didn't realize that you were a teacher, and that you are. And by the way, did you know that you're also claircognizant?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
For ill or bad, for good or ill on any given day.
Don't knock the claircogs. Us claircogs, man, we got to stick together because we are the ones that access the ancient knowledge the easiest.
I don't know. I hear things. I'm clairaudient, and it's like that one's a hard one too, because it's like I'm like, okay, is that me or is that something else?
Here. Okay, so let me give you some information. First of all, we are a free will planet, which means that, and I caught them one day in meditation. Did you know that your guides sit around and play poker until you actually ask for them, and they look down and they go, oh, not doing anything yet. And until you ask and state that I openly ask that you become an open and active part of my life for my guides and my guardian angels and all of my ancestors, they're going to sit around and play Yahtzee. Ask them to speak to you in a different voice in a voice that's different than your own head voice. This way you can discern the difference. Ask them to turn up the volume, because they have to go through all of these different layers to get to you, that sometimes it sounds like they're talking through water.
Yeah.
Ask them to speak to you in a language that you understand.
I do have a sarcastic one, yes.
Oh my God, yes you do. And let me tell you that, and it's Italian. They're Italian as well. They're an Italian water witch. They're a Strega water witch. Oh yeah, that's why sometimes you've had some things blow up. She's going, uh-huh.
Literally.
Yes.
So, but here's the interesting piece is that when you do that, now you've invited them in. You've asked them to participate. And the conversations with spirit gets much easier. When the first time I did that was probably almost 35 years ago. And I got this, is this a deep enough different voice for you? And I'm like, okay, who are you? Well, I'm your guide. So it gets to be interesting. It gets to be very interesting. And when you're dealing with your ancestors, you want it to be the most healed portion of themselves. Because if you go and you have a conversation with, let's say, Saint Germain also incarnated on this planet. Saint Germain is the one that originated and created the language of Reiki, and that was originally done in Sanskrit. So there are different versions of him as an entity. So when you want to go and talk to different spirit guides and things like that, you ask for the most healed version of them to come forward and have a conversation with you.
And yeah, I've been working on that a lot more now. I'm more or less trying to work on confidence skills. I usually kind of sit in the background, you know what I mean? Unless I'm talking, I love to talk and learn about people. And I get very excited about that. That's something I love to do. I'm kind of over exuberant. Like Jim is like my calm half, and then there's me. You know.
Well, part of it is about healing your witch wound, healing your healer's wound, understanding that confidence is your ego trying to keep you safe, trying to keep you small. Because the ego's entire job, so let me back up here. When we come into this planet, we come in as infants, and from birth until 4 or 5 years old, we have what's called a soul plug. And that soul plug connects us to the other side. The soul plug, if you look at accounts of 2 and 3 year olds talking about, well, when I was your mother, we would have never done it that way. That's where those types of information and pieces come from.
Okay.
At about 5 to 7 years old is when the ego seats itself within the body. So think of the ego, the earth guide only, as being a computer program. Because, okay, let's face it, there are lots of books out there that says we've learned everything we ever needed to know about this world by the age of 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So the ego's job is to keep us small. It's to keep us safe. Our beliefs kick in somewhere between 6 to 10. So that's when we learn everything that our parents want to teach us about what money is, what safety is, what nurturing should look like. All of those things are those beliefs that when we're doing our shadow work, we have to go back in and break them down to rewrite them.
Yeah.
And then we start going. Yep. And then we start going into puberty, which is terrible twos with hormones and verbalization.
Lack of impulse control, absolutely. As a psychologist, that much I know. And I work with at-risk youth, so it's like, you know, and then you add any trauma or anything, yeah, and it's hard, and that makes a lot of sense for me.
Oh yeah, and then when you're working with trauma with kids that are that young, and you're having to tell them that in order to move forward, you need to forgive the person, but you have to explain to them that you're forgiving the soul, not the action that they did.
Yeah.
Plus, they have to forgive themselves. So here I am. I was 7 years old and I was sexually molested, and I have to forgive myself. But yes, I do, because I participated in that. But I also learned. So I have to go back and forgive my inner child with that.
Yeah.
And forgive my little self for participating in that.
Yeah, that was the hard. Actually, that's funny, because that's the hardest issue I've had to deal with as far as my mom. I forgave her for her narcissistic self. And
Right.
my issue, I turned that anger onto myself because I allowed it to happen for so long. It took me till I was 45 to realize, hey, maybe it's not me. You know what I mean? And I was so angry at myself for that for a long time.
Okay.
Still am.
So
I still
were-
battle with it.
Frustrated, hurt, or sad?
What do you mean, the feeling? I would
Well-
say it's frustration because I allowed it to. I could have done so many different things, but I was so focused on trying to fix that and be what she wanted me to be that you know what I mean? I missed opportunities.
Right, exactly. Because the basis of anger is a frustration, a sadness, or a hurt.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a Hawaiian forgiveness ceremony called Ho'oponopono.
Oh, yes.
And you can do Ho'oponopono. I also do it with people in working with the ancestors. So you can, because you, I, Jim, others are the ones in this lifetime to break these generational curses. We are here to break these things, and we can do them through a Ho'oponopono. So I have people picture a crossroads, if you will, an
Okay.
intersection. And there are two hills. The one behind you is all the people that have come before you, all your biological that have come before you. And you turn to them and you tell them, I forgive you. Thank you for the information. You did as much as you could with the information that you had at that moment in time. I love you. Please forgive me for only knowing as much as what you have taught me. And then you're feeling all this love come through to you and through your heart chakra. And then you turn, and then on the other side of the hill is all of the future. It's the future you. It's your children. It's all your future generations in which you do the same thing. Please forgive me. I could not give you everything that you needed because I didn't have all the answers. Thank you for accepting me and being a part of my life. I love you. I'm sorry. And then you release all of that love to them to heal all of them. And now you've broken that and you've moved yourself forward. And it's incredibly moving, incredibly
Yeah, I just
powerful.
felt that like right here.
Yeah, but it's
I'm not crying. You're crying.
I'm like, whew, okay.
but it's just incredibly impactful. It's like when you're doing your shadow work and you're journaling. Did you know that you should be setting yourself up within a sacred circle? Because in essence, you're channeling.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You're doing automatic writing. You don't know what or who is passing by that is now taking over your pen and writing for you.
And that's beautiful, the idea of the mountain and those who stand behind you and those who are in front of you. I know Joanne probably feels the same way as a parent, looking back at my ancestors and the forgiveness that has had to take place and the healing. But looking forward, I don't ever want my daughter to ever have to look backwards and heal from the things that I've done, or from the choices that I've made, so that I wouldn't be that good ancestor, that just helps out in the kitchen, not, whispers.
Right,
That Noah Wiley ancestor.
Yes, exactly.
I'm obsessed
But it's-
with that now.
It is so important, but it's so simple. And this is what it means to do this work.
Yeah.
This is what it means as being a catalyst, is breaking things down into such a simplistic way that it moves people and allows them to raise their vibration to match where they need to be to heal themselves.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was talking about this a lot, that we, as our human self, our ego, tries to overcomplicate everything, and that's something I'm trying to help teach people, is that self-care and healing and journaling and it doesn't have to be a complicated thing. And
No.
it's as it's simple. We always make, we look at the whole picture, and I tell people you have to break it down. It didn't take you one day to get this way, and it's not going to take a day to fix it. You have to break it down into small attainable goals and work one piece at a time. Mark Lyons used to tell me when I worked with him that it was like flushing a rain gutter. Until all that crud and that crap comes out into the bucket, you're not going to get any clear flow, and I used to like fight him all the time. I'm like, I'm like, what more stuff? I'm like, I'm doing this, I'm doing all this work, and I just keep getting more stuff dumped on top of me. And he's like, well, yeah, you're loosening that opening.
It's like an onion. And it's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer until you get to a centerpiece. And then let me tell you something, there's still more to go down.
Yeah.
And it takes work. It's not a one and done. It's not oh, I just went through a dark night of the soul. Oh, I'm all better now. Okay. Yeah. You go right on believing that, sweetheart.
I like to say I have a campsite on the River Styx.
There you go. There you go. And these energies, people are talking about how the energies and how they just want to go and curl up. I remember talking about this. Our job is to transmute these energies to Gaia. That is part of our job. This is what we signed up for. Is to help birth this planet into this new paradigm and to bring about the age of Aquarius.
Yep. And I tell people, you need to project what you want to see in the world. Because if you have the crud inside, that's what you're going to see on your outside. Our outer world is a manifestation of what we carry internally. And I know moving forward, I don't want, discord. I don't want stress. I don't want drama. I don't want any of that stuff. And, it takes a lot of work to maintain that.
It does. It does. And even when you're in the middle of it, so Joanne, let's say you're in the middle of making changes. You're in the middle of doing it. You have these, what they call behavioral contracts with all of your friends that come up to you and go, I don't like the changes that you've made. I like the old person better.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that sometimes they may have been in your life for 30 years. They're going to slowly move away and move out of your circle.
Yeah.
And you have to let them go.
I did go through after my dad died, it was like some kind of portal in me opened up, and I called so many people out. So like you said, some people that I had known for years, and I embraced, I met people like you. I've met people like Jim. I have, and other people in my life, but I got rid of a lot, and it was hard and it was gut wrenching because the people that I always thought should be there for me were not, but other people surprised me.
Yes. Yes. And it's like having those expectations. When you have expectations for people to do something, a specific behavior, you're just setting yourself up for failure. It's an emotional roller coaster. Okay.
And I often, will talk to people who are in relationships that are falling apart, and you talk about those behavioral contracts where, you're not doing those same things for them, but that is not real love. When it is, when you're losing that expectation, that is not real love. You're loving what that person does for you rather than that person, their spirit, their higher self. True love is a love between the higher selves, not expecting those typical behaviors or things that we do for people. But Joanne,
Muna Star is asking something, and I don't know what they're asking. I don't understand what they're asking.
It's okay. It's okay. But we've talked a little bit about shadow work, of course, here on the show. I think that has been glamorized a little bit. You know, the TikTok, you know, and even Five Below will carry, you know, like the shadow work notebook and, you know, things like that. Terry, talk to us your interpretation of shadow work and what that means to you and your work with your...
The work that I do with people is to help within the energetics. Like I said before, emotions are energy in motion. We're not meant to hold on to them. Shadow work is, and Kathleen's asking, what is shadow work? Shadow work is about going within yourself and healing that bullshit. I mean, I'm just going to call it what it is. It's healing that trauma. It's healing and changing the energies of trauma that was there. And I don't like the trauma. Spirit wants me to use non-loving energies and converting it to love is their statements that they keep saying to me. Because it is. Love is the highest form of healing, the highest form of vibration that there is. It's about going in. Here we go. Joanne, you and I are in the middle of a divorce, but the energies and the emotions that we choose is what makes it different for both of us. We have the exact same experience, but the emotions that we choose, and then we later on go back and heal that. Okay. And it's in choosing those emotions that they get stuck. It takes 7 years for an energy to make it through the etheric bodies to become and affect you on a physical level. So when you think about that and you think about the stuck energy that's there and then transmuting it to love, and then you're releasing it, you're not changing the memories, you're only changing the energy. And this is about changing the energy. This is also about calling all of your pieces home to you. I know I have done at least 4 soul retrievals just for myself and calling pieces back. In this lifetime alone, I have had multiple times in which other versions of myself have come into me and raised my vibration and brought me higher and higher. The levels that I work with right now in working one-on-one with people, in being a catalyst, I automatically behind the scenes start working with aligning chakras. I start working with removing negative bull crap, start working with removing parasites that are there. I'm already doing all of that work in a session. And then we go in and we do things like we go meet our higher self, so that now you can go back later on and you can go start working with your higher self. I provide you a framework so that now you can carry this forward for yourself.
We lost Jim. But yeah, shadow work is, hopefully he comes back. No, we're going to be live all night from Terry's truck in my kitchen.
Yes, Terry's in the truck. Yeah, when Sarah, when you talk about losing a parent, I get that. I lost my parent. I lost both of my parents. I became the matriarch of my family at 25 years old. I was very, very young. I became the oldest living person in my line. And I'm not sure what you're asking at this point of what you're needing help with.
I don't know. Just, keep saying what you were saying.
So, but yeah, when you lose a parent, even though they're gone, you can still have a mental conversation with them. You can still have a conversation with them and sit down and talk to them. I know that there were times in which, in doing my shadow work and my mom was gone, I had mental conversations with her and I'm like, why? Why did this happen? Why did you do these things? Because I'm a why girl as a Sagittarius. I have to understand the whys.
Yeah, I get that.
And
G said shadow work is extremely long-term and continuous. if you ask me.
It is. You're never ending. I'm going to tell you that straight up. It's never ending, because when you start healing in the now, then you're also healing across time and space and parallel realities. So that as you bring everything into the now,
Yeah.
it's also like a spider web, and you're the center of the spider web. So now you're healing it across everywhere. So it is.
So it's kind of like you're weaving that out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's interesting because the more we do, the more we start to impact others.
Yeah.
The more that, well, even in the truck, when I've broken down and I've rented a car and gone to a metaphysical shop, and my guides are like, okay, we need you to go to deliver a message to this person, this person, and this person. And I'm like, okay. And I deliver my messages, and they're like, where did you come from? Was sent here to give you this information and to move on.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I had technical difficulties there and not.
That's okay. I'm like, oh my God, he went to the next dimension. How dare you ascend without me?
I was in the fifth dimension for a moment.
We don't need to take on what our parents did. We absolutely do not need to take on. Okay? We are our own individual, and they may be part of our soul family. And soul families are interesting in that we incarnate with them. And sometimes they're mother, sister, lover, brother, father, aunt, uncle, best friend. And they're just people that you're always with and that you hang around. And then you have others that just come into your life for a reason or a season, and then they're gone.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you talk about those different soul contracts and things. A lot of folks will talk about past life regression. I've actually experienced in trance a past death, which actually explained connections that I have in this life. Watching loved ones die in a past life that explained connections in this one. So, those paths that we walk together can really have a lot of emotional, weight to them, in this life and the next life as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And once people understand the concept that time is an illusion, once you understand that time is not linear, the only reason it's linear is for our brains. Mm-hmm. That's it. Time is a never-ending circle. It's. I love Doctor Who. I'm a Whovian. I love Doctor Who. Who's explanation. It's just whamsy-pamsy goes over here and there and everywhere.
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey. Yes, I love him.
Yes. I love some of those explanations. So absolutely.
Debbie's asking if you believe loved ones who've passed are around us and if they can offer help that when we ask them.
Absolutely. So I was kind of in a trance one day, and when the internet was free and you could do a lot of things, and was on Ancestry.com putting together my ancestry tree and put it back to Ireland. And I kind of awoke all of my ancestors, because the next thing I know is I have these salty Irishmen yelling in my ear. And they're around me even now. There's a group of them, and there's some interesting salty beings. And when you get a bunch of Irish and Scots around, makes for a fun evening. So, oh yes, but absolutely, Miss Debbie. Not only are they around us, and you can ask for them for assistance, but they'll check in with us, especially if they were close to us from time to time. You'll get a smell. You'll get a record that'll come on. You will get somebody will say a phrase and you'll do a double take type thing. All of those things are indicative of an ancestor being with you. I remember being on a truck several years ago, and I had the smell of roses for an entire summer. I had an ancestor with me in the truck that was just riding along. You know, they were having a blast, and I had the smell of roses everywhere.
I love that.
So,
I love that smell too.
yeah, exactly. Well, think of it as being in a truck when you're going down the road.
Yeah. I know. I
You
keep
talk-
hoping that I hear from my dad, and I don't know, maybe I'm focusing too much on it, but
Have a conversation with him. What do you want to tell him?
I just want to tell him that I hope he knows how much I loved him, and that, you know, despite what the family's doing, I hope, you know, because they try to tell me that he, his feelings, he was just being nice to me, and I don't believe that. I think he was adopted as well and understood a lot of what I was going through with my mom, and I don't know. I just hope he knows, and was it real? You know, did he really care?
Yes, he did care in his own way. He was silent generation,
Yes.
closed adoption. I want to say Northeast Corridor. I want to say that it was probably through Catholic Charities orphanages. It wasn't the best experience that he had. It left him a little reserved in some ways, but in other ways, he was very open.
Oh yeah, he loved people. He had no
Yeah.
conditions on liking people.
Yeah. And part of that he made the changes through. He was an altar boy. I see him in an altar boys thing. But it's sometimes too, that's how, like, early 40s, that's how they ate.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, he's absolutely. But have a conversation with him. Sit down on the kitchen table and go have a cup of coffee and have a conversation with him.
He did love his espresso.
Yeah, go have a cup of coffee, go sit down at the kitchen table, call your dad in, have the conversation.
You know, I'm
You
just so like, I just, all these people that a lot of my family, like, they dream and, they dream about ancestors. And I'm like, oh, why can't I do that? Like, why can't he come and talk to me? And I get like pennies, and he talks to me a lot through music, because he loved Frank Sinatra, Perry Como, like, just all these things, and TV shows. Like, we used to watch certain things, like we had our creature feature things, and a Columbo, that was a big thing. Sometimes I'll be in a bad mood and I'll be scrolling the TV, my apps, and Columbo will pop up, and I'll be like, and I'll sit and watch it, and it's like going back with my dad. Tom and Jerry, anything Tom and Jerry he loved.
Absolutely. So you do creative visualization, right?
Mm.
Okay. So did you know that, especially for us women who are ADHD, I'm an ADD mom. I have 4 ADD kids, okay, all with different levels. And a form of meditation is creative visualization. That daydreaming is a form of meditation. Because when you can feel it, touch it, taste it, smell it, you have moved your consciousness into that reality that you just created in having that conversation. Your breathing deepens, your blood pressure lowers, and you're in that meditative state while doing that daydream.
No, that's true.
And a lot of people don't realize that daydreaming is a form of meditation.
I love that show, Kolchak. That was great. I have the whole series on DVD.
Yeah.
I love that you mentioned Tom and Jerry too, because one of my favorite memories with my grandmother was sitting in her big Harvest Gold chair when I was little, and I called it Cat and Mouse, and that was my favorite time with my grandmother was when Tom and Jerry was on. So that's a great memory with your dad, I'm sure.
So go sit down and have a cup of coffee.
My sister is saying there, I feel others in her so-called family tried to stop him from showing her all he wanted. Well, probably. I don't see what there is to be jealous of, but...
Let me tell you something. Death brings out a lot of jealousy and a lot of just negativity in people. It really does.
Well, and they know the love that he had for you. And they're probably jealous of that love, and now there's no chance of them getting it on this plane.
Yeah, well, because we used to do, like you said, sitting on the couch every Saturday. It was Creature Feature, and then we'd watch baseball, and he'd tell me all about the Yankees, even though we lived in Boston at the time. And, told me about all those things like, Mickey Mantle and, all the stories of baseball and the history. And, just different things like, watching Kolchak and things like that, or Columbo's at Hawaii Five-0. God, did he love that show.
Right. So you have quality time that you spent with him that they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they're jealous of, is that quality time.
And that makes a lot of sense. As a channeler, Terry, how does your messages come through? Do you hear messages? Do you see?
I hear, see, and I have spirit. Part of my agreement in this life is that spirit can use both my eyes and my voice and my body to communicate to people. So I allow them to, I have what's called a guardian of the gate, because to me, I firmly believe that our bodies, because we are pure energy spirits, this is a shell, and this is the space suit that is needed to go through this plane of this planet. Okay? And that because spirits can walk in and leave and then reuse the body, I allow spirit to use my body to communicate to people.
Melissa's asking, would you not agree that some of this trauma is caused by our own guilt, sometimes identifying with it and accepting the forgiveness of oneself is actually best to move on?
Yeah. I mean, however you want to move through this, because we have to be able to forgive ourselves for the actions that we do. We have to take responsibility for our actions. If you're still playing a blame game, then how are you assisting others? Trying to see if there was anybody around. There's a couple that are through here. But yes, forgiveness of self is huge, because forgiveness of self shows that you are as part of self-care, and you're telling your soul that you love it. Something that I had done, because they pointed it out to me, it was a simple act of putting on lotion. We forget to put on hand cream. We forget to put on lotion. But that is us telling our body that we don't care about it.
Yeah. I was just talking about the crepe paper skin today.
Yeah, I remember you saying that when you did that live, and you said, about the self-care and putting the lotion on. And I was like, wow, I never looked at it that way. You're telling your body that you're not worth that extra special, love and attention. And I've been putting the lotion on now.
Well, but I mean, it doesn't make any difference if it's just lotion or what it is, but
before I get the hose
really
again.
It's about the self-care, and it's about the action. We say, yep, we're going to start that yoga. Yep, we're going to go do this. Yep, we're going to go for that walk. As we sit on the couch and we flick through the channels.
Right.
You know?
In the process of trying to shut off our mind, so many of us do that. And, we could also shut off our mind while we're taking care of our body.
Exactly. And it's the action of telling our soul that we are worthy. It really, really is. I have an entity that has come forward that wishes to speak. Would you like the message at this moment in time?
Yes.
Greetings to all here as this moment, as we come together to express ourselves as a way of congratulating you in promoting the idea of not just forgiveness, but of that of self and that of being able to raise your own vibration, in that it is important at this moment in time as you pass through these many portals. And as you raise this vibration, do not allow yourself to be within fear. For being within the fear raises not your vibration, but in fact lowers it. So that you then must climb the ladder yet again to where you were before. Think of the ladder as more of a spiral. And within that spiral, you will go up and down. The more that you eliminate, not just the fear, not just the negativity, but that of also policing your thoughts about your own worthiness, about your own confidence, in that you raise your vibration as well. We thank this person for allowing us to come in at this moment in time, and we thank you for allowing us to deliver this message. Please have a wonderful day. Okay.
Thank you, Terry, for being a channel.
Wow, that was...
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, you're welcome. And I don't remember what is said. That's part of my agreement. I don't need to know. It's the message is for others.
That's beautiful. You talked about a guardian of the gate. So I have channeled before, and we've talked about it on the show. I will often wear a hat or a hood, when I'm doing spiritual work, because I have channeled and been mounted by spirit without permission. But tell us a little bit about Guardian of the Gate and how you control the experience.
The Guardian of the Gate is an entity that protects my body. When I was first learning to channel, I was hijacked, and I had a negative entity attempt to hijack my body. And so I had to seek out a protectorant that would simply, if you want to use me and deliver a message like what just happened, you need to talk to them first before you can do that. So it's like this extra layer of protection, if you will. And it's a specific type of entity that I have that is like a protectorate as part of my spirit team. And allows, basically, they can, if they don't feel that they're of the highest and best good for me, then they'll just filter the information through and I'll hear it and then can speak it. If it's really of something that's very good and very promotional for all, then they will allow the entity to go through.
That is excellent information. So many people start having spiritual experiences and shut them down out of fear. Mm-hmm. Or misunderstanding. And
yes.
I definitely think our community needs more conversation around things such as channel, such as trance, past life experiences, so that people, when they have these experiences, they're not afraid, and can move forward with that gift. And
what kinds of protection can people do when they're, starting out on this journey, or it starts happening?
You can do a sacred circle. You can begin to work with your higher self. Your higher self can act as an initial guide for someone to come through. One of the things that people get hung up with a lot when they first get started is they need to know who they're channeling. I have never needed to know who they're channeling, or who specifically I'm channeling, or what the entity's name is that I'm channeling, simply because it's typically the way I'm built in this life. It is only of the highest and best good for the collective at that moment in time, or the person that I'm working with, is what I'm channeling. So I've never needed to ask. I know that I've channeled the feminine divine. I've channeled Mother Mary. I have channeled Metatron. I've done some Arcturian work. I've done some Draconian work. Some sixth dimensional, seventh dimensional entities that have come through. But I've never needed a name, because it's like how they appear is like a room full of people, and they're all typing at the same time to get the information across. And then one person has the teletype and looks through it all and says, okay, this is what we want to go. Is the best way that I can explain it.
That's interesting. When I had channeled, it was a situation where I, bowed my head at the altar, and boom, it wasn't a controlled experience. So I ran away from that for a long time before, I realized that it can be a controlled.
It can be controlled. You can also control the situation. You can also hang a sign up that says "Do not disturb."
Been there. Yes. Mm-hmm.
You can go, you know what? I'm going to be drinking tonight. I'm going to enjoy a night with my friends. I do not need to deliver messages tonight. This is not the night for that. Sorry.
Diane DiCaprio told me that, the excess medium, because I was reading a friend's dream, actually Debbie's, and her mother-in-law channeled through me. And I felt the woman's, it like freaked me the hell out. Then when I looked out my window, it was the whole bay. I lived down on the Cape, and the whole bay was filled with like swans. Like I'm talking like about 100 swans just landed.
Oh, wow.
And she put me in touch with this friend of hers, Diane DiCaprio, and she had to teach me how to shut off these people just coming into me, like coming at me and just like, you know what I mean? Bothering me, I guess would be the word. Channeling scares me, because I don't know. I don't like to not feel in control, but it seems to like just want to happen on its own more and more.
Right. And see, you can channel higher entities, but you can also channel ancestors and dead people. So part of what you have to discern is this a higher entity being, or is this a deceased person? And the other beautiful thing about a guardian of the gate is that negative entities have a tendency of creating a false narrative and a false presentation. That's why a sacred circle is always a wonderful idea. Always making sure that you have your team in line with what you're doing, and making sure that it's of your highest and best good as well. Because the experience should be an energy exchange. In that you should be receiving a healing during these things, those types of things, to where it is being beneficial to your body. Because it can be incredibly draining to channel.
It was weird. I felt like after like when you touch something and you get zapped and you get that clammy, weird that's what I felt like, but very intensely and for like quite a few hours after, you know what I mean? It was like weird. Like I had been, I don't know. I just didn't like the feeling after, and Debbie could tell it wasn't me talking, right? Because, I was talking, it was stuff. Yeah, I knew her mother-in-law, but it was stuff that there was no way I could have known.
Exactly. And that's what's so interesting, especially when, I know for a fact that when I'm channeling, it is not my voice that comes out. It is someone else's voice and sometimes I've heard it harmonized between 2 and 3 voices as it comes out. And that's usually one of the first indicators that it's not me.
So Debbie
because,
wants to know what our connection is. Like, how come her and I have such a strong connection?
Oh, well, that's easy. Soul family.
You travel in
Soul-
packs.
Exactly. Soul family is a group of 12 entities that typically travel and incarnate together. And within that 12, it goes out exponentially and exponentially until you're reaching the 144,000 families.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people to bring. We'll need a bigger truck.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you got to realize that on this planet at this moment in time, there are 144,000 ascended masters on this planet. That is the most there has ever been to help bring about this age of Aquarius.
Mark Lyons was actually talking about the age of Aquarius, and I keep seeing Raquel Welch dancing in the background.
Oddly enough, the band was called The Fifth Dimension.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But Rosemary has got me a little worried here. She says, I see a dark shadow in my peripheral vision in the hallway. And today I finally spoke and said they were welcome as long as they brought no harm to anyone in the house.
Yeah.
Any advice for her?
More than likely, I would say that is the absolute best thing to do. And that it is either a spirit guide or it is a someone wanting to get your attention. So have a conversation with them. You know, my oldest son, who's now over 40, when he was younger, and I mean like 3 years old, had a quote unquote imaginary friend whose name was John. And we told him, you can stay and play as long as you come with the love and the light of God. Otherwise, you have to go away.
Yeah.
Come to find out, it was his great-great-grandfather.
Oh, wow.
That was coming to see him.
We got people offering to sing and playing Age of Aquarius in the background.
You're welcome, Miss Rosemary.
If YouTube wouldn't take the video down because of copyright, I would play it now.
We can have Christine come on and sing.
Right. And Rosemary, I call those because it seems to be seasonal that I have, the shadows myself. And, I call them the watchers. They show up, they quietly watch. It's usually in odd, quiet times, when you're off alone or not expecting them. But like Terry said, just talk to them, let them know that.
Yeah. Rosemary, if you've been doing
the energy if it's negative.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to make you want to be sick. Rosemary, if you've been on Ancestry and if you've been in any kind of a trance, you're probably awakening your ancestry tree.
Mm-hmm.
There's some stuff in there.
Yeah, and Rosemary, it's a common phenomenon that people who are awakening spirit and working with spirit will see. But again, I've experienced negative as well as positive, and then just usually absolutely neutral. I think they're nosy. That's why I call them the watchers, because it'll be when I'm in my garden or looking out a window or, like you said, out of your peripheral vision. They just seem to be observing.
Yeah, I have a couple. I have one on my front porch that paces, and then I have one that sits. I have like an old-fashioned slide rocker in the living room, and it likes to sit there and watch TV. I'll see it when I'm walking down the hallway out of the corner of my eye. Doesn't really do anything. You'll know, like I know if it's like something, but like anything else, put up your spiritual protection. Get a routine in place for yourself. I do one weekly. I have little things that I do daily to cleanse myself. Wear protective jewelry like we talked about last night. What does a parrot mean when I meditated? Christine wants to know.
Birds can mean lots of things. Birds can be messages. It could mean somebody from the tropics is trying to reach out to you. Are you planning a trip to the tropics? They can mean almost anything. It could mean that it's a new animal guide that's coming in to start showing you new heights.
Mm.
Okay, it can mean almost anything as it comes in. So, Joanne, I take it you and Jim both practice sympathetic magic, correct? I love sympathetic magic. So, and you were talking about protection.
Yes.
So, some easy sympathetic magic. I'm in the middle of redecorating a room and I'm painting it and I'm kilting the walls. So, you know what kilts is that primer paint that goes on first.
Yep.
And in that primer paint, I've created a mixture of crushed eggshells, black salt, brick dust, ground kyanite, ground quartz, ground black agate, all of these protection things that I sprinkle into the paint and then I paint it up on the wall, and selenite as well. Selenite in your against the walls or on the walls will automatically grid your space from protection.
Yep. That's like doing a spray or that you can also use, or putting it in your lotions. You got to know, read up a little on what you're doing, because you can't mix certain things as stones with your skin.
Right.
But I have a shower head that has tourmaline in it and filters the water coming through, There's all kinds of ways you can implement protection in your life. Salt is your friend.
Absolutely. Now you can also turn around and the little jars that you can pick up from the Dollar Tree, you can put an open safety pin so you can poke out its eye, a pebble so this way it can bash its head in, anything of earth, so any ground crystal, any salt, any dirt, any rice, because here's the thing, and you put it in the windowsill. Negative entities must count each and every grain. Halfway through they count and they lose count, they have to start all over again. And they'll do this all night long until the sun comes up, and then they'll go away. Okay? So anything like that is easy sympathetic magic that I love doing sympathetic magic.
Yeah.
Because it's like a one and done, and I don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah. I work a lot with crystals. I tell people, put tourmaline or obsidian out. That's great at transmuting negativity. I also have, different types of stones, like for anxiety. I have a nice piece of amazonite that I keep around me, and all different things and smoky is my go-to for grounding. Smoky quartz.
Something that you can do if you're having issues in an office is you can pick up a small round sacred geometry disc. Temu sells them, inexpensive. And then pick up some small pieces of selenite and then have a stone represent you in the middle, and then put the selenite around you. And now you've created a grid for in your office or around you. You can do the same thing. I was watching a show with a woman who talked about how you can draw out what your property looks like. And that becomes a grid. And now you can put your stones around that, and it's the representation of your property. And now you're protecting property. All of those types of things. All of those things work wonderfully.
Yep. I also have, I have, and I'm lucky, I had the kids always pick them up for me. Railroad spikes. I put them in the four corners of my house and the four corners of my yard.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Love that stuff.
I love
the
stone idea in the paint. I was just thinking of painting my shrine room. So now I'm going to have to consider what gemstones I'm going to add to.
Go on to, I went to Etsy, and I think it's called Earth First. You can get the stones ground from India.
Oh, great. because I was just
And-
contemplating how I was going to grind some stones. So.
Actually, nope. I bought them and had them shipped in from India. And I have like garnet in this mix and all different things that I have. And then figure out what you want your mix to be. Figure out what you want it to do. You know?
Oh, that's a great idea.
You can put a
Definitely.
broom over your front door.
Oh yeah. You know,
You can put a
something that
broom over
the broom over the front door or the horseshoe. You know, there's a lot of great.
I've seen people with a dollar bill over the front door with some ribbon around it for abundance. You know, you can do the cinnamon underneath the doormat.
I have a mezuzah.
Yep. You can now. One of the things that I love doing is incorporating Reiki. I started out as being a kitchen witch, so to me, magic happens in the kitchen because you're creating something out of nothing with every meal that you do.
Dark shadows are not good. We had them, and my Italian mother-in-law told us to put crucifixes above all the doors, and it stopped.
You know, and it is about belief system. You know, whether it's the horseshoe
Yes.
or the broom or the crucifix, and I think that our own belief, you know, causes, you know, because those entities probably aren't Catholic or a demon. You know, they don't necessarily respect a religious system or a symbol, but our own belief, you know, puts that into action. You know, how would you like to be the vampire that was pre-Christ and all of a sudden now you're afraid of this plus sign? You know, it's not.
Exactly. Cinnamon is great for abundance. Somebody asked what cinnamon under the doormat will do. It's great for abundance.
And boy, if you bought stock in cinnamon before everybody started blowing it in the doorway, you would be rich.
Hey, look. Like I said, I just do things a little differently because
Right.
I enjoy kitchen magic.
Oh, I do
You know?
too. They, you know, I always say, you know, the best things I learned was around the kitchen table, and you know, in that kitchen where Grandma was, you know, whipping up a stew or, you know, dinner, or just talking about, you know, the way things were back in the day. You know, there's a lot of
Oh, absolutely.
going to be shared in the kitchen.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Terry, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. We had a great discussion. If folks want to follow you, reach out to you, you know,
Facebook,
maybe-
DMs.
So everybody, if you follow her on Facebook and look for what she's up to, and you know, do you have any other website or YouTube or?
Those are all works in progress at the moment. I just reached out to somebody earlier today because I literally just got 4 years of host singer so that I can do that.
Oh, that's great.
It is literally a work in progress at the moment.
Okay, so there's a lot of people that seem to feel that these dark entities are like I think they're thinking more on the paranormal level, which is is that different, or like what?
The paranormal levels, if you're watching a movie like Paranormal or something like that, some of that is, in my opinion, sensationalism. The entities that I always saw at a corners of my eye never really did anything. But then again, I found at a very young age, I couldn't read any true stories that were horror, and I couldn't watch any horror movies. Back a long time ago, when the book first came out on the Amityville Horror, I ended up with something living outside my window for 6 months. You know, those horror stories come from somebody's mind. They visited there in a dream somewhere and in that realm. And it's like, no, it doesn't. I don't need it coming to visit me. But
Yeah.
I've never had an issue with like a shadow that's in a corner and I'm like, oh, hello, who are you? You know, if you're going to create issues, you need to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
that type of thing.
I can generally feel the energy off of things, you know?
Well, and I think it's something important for people to understand is that as women and as being the head of your household, you control what is in your household, every aspect of it, to include the paranormal. If you don't like what's there, tell it to go away.
Yeah, my place is locked down. My friend was laughing because it messes up people's GPS when they put in my address.
I mean, one of my favorite songs is Wake Me Up by Evanescence, and I'll start moving and grooving to that one. And then, so I like the movie Inception that has in the dreamscape where everything blows out and then comes back in. So then I turn around and I blow everything out and I freeze it. And then I chase everything with a white light. All this while the music's going on. And then once everything's all cleared, I bring it all back together again.
Yeah.
And put my protections in place.
Well, it's also too about intent, and
Right.
It's like writing a legal contract, Mark Lyons likes to say. You have to be very clear on your intention and what you want and what you don't want in there and your personal protections,
Right, exactly. Now, if you have roommates, then the common space may not need to be nuked, but your room may be a different story.
Yep.
So you have to look at it that way.
That's what I mean. I keep tourmaline and obsidian in the main parts. I have little things, I just do things, you know what I mean? I don't know. To protect myself and my home and my family. So I
Rosemary had
Absolutely.
originally had the question, and she says she's never felt a danger from it. But I think Terry is very much right. Find that ancestor that you feel a connection to, and put that picture, in a place like an altar or on the mantle with a little candle, and reach out to that ancestor that you already have a connection with. And it's going to be like spider webs. It's going to reach out to other ancestors that might be trying to communicate with you as well. And you can invite them into your space.
Absolutely. I have loved this. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us on Inside the Sacred Circle. We have a lot of great guests that will be coming on in February and March. A little bit of a break over the next couple of weeks just because I'll be out of town. But we're really looking forward to those who we've already talked to for February and March. Super excited. But
yes.
Blessings, everybody. And again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Terry.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciated this. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. Blessings, everybody.